Hello YouTube, I'm back with the next BattleBots review, and today we're reviewing the 8th episode of BattleBots Season 1.0, which gets into the lightweight, semi-final, and finals. We got our champion in this episode, so we dive in with Alpha Raptor versus Mouser Mecha Catbot, and Alpha Raptor's going in relatively healthy. I mean, it didn't really take a whole lot of damage in its previous bouts at this point. Mouser, on the other hand, is going in without a weapon. It blew the CO2 fitting, which I'm guessing power helps somewhat, has to do with its flipping arm, the one that goes out like that. It wasn't working, and that's why it basically was left defenseless. But of course, when the match ended up getting going, Alpha Raptor didn't have such a great start. It ended up backing into the Hellraisers at least twice, to my recollection. But neither one was really able to do anything. Mouser kind of would have had the edge probably with its low forks that could have thrown Alpha Raptor onto its back at least, and or up against the spike strip where it couldn't move. But Alpha Raptor didn't exactly have the weapon system to take on Mouser either, because it had a relatively low lifting arm, but it was not only slow, but it was awkwardly designed such that it couldn't hold up against Mouser. It needed to really get underneath Mouser to lift them up off the floor, let alone throw it over. Mouser's also a fairly wide robot with slopes. It's rather sloped on all sides, pretty much. So it's going to be difficult to not only get a hold of, but keep that hold and actually do something with it. And Alpha Raptor did take some damage in this fight. But now, and I think in some ways that would prove crucial for its next fight. Alpha Raptor did end up winning this fight. I think it was like 7-2 or something like that. Mouser was pretty much dead by the time they were in, like towards the end of the fight. They were pretty much out of it. Mouser pretty much just stopped moving. Not quite sure what happened back there. Maybe ran out of battery power. Could have been as simple as that. These are 3-minute bouts, and maybe they just forgot to charge it in their haste to get Mouser ready to go. They just didn't charge it up enough. They got it as far as about 2/3 of the match. And, it ended up going to the judges because there was not enough time for a count out. I think they attempted it, but there was not enough time. It was probably about 20 seconds or so. But it didn't matter. Alpha Raptor ended up winning to reach the championship. And then this put Backlash up against BattleBot. BattleBot, of course, is a lifting arm. We didn't get to see it this season until this point because Ziggo had. And that just explains why we didn't get to see Ziggo either. Ziggo was a reason. Yeah, because the reason why we didn't get to see Ziggo is because Ziggo was beaten by BattleBot in probably the most unluckiest of events it could have had. It took one hit from BattleBot and ended up under the spike strip where it couldn't get out. In fact, I believe it took a crowbar to get them out of there. BattleBot, I think, was relatively heavily damaged after that hit. I mean, as far as I can recall, but they only showed one clip, so we have no idea. That may have been very well have been the fight itself. That one hit. But BattleBot survived and ended up going to the semis. And really didn't have a whole lot of offense to deal with against Backlash. Not a lot of bots do at this point. I mean, it had a lifting arm, so at least it was somewhat of a threat to Backlash. It was also a sloped front. It was kind of a boxy, trapezoidal-shaped design. It had the chance. I mean, it kind of went in with some extra foam, but Backlash ripped those right off and eventually mangled the lifting arm and then basically killed it. Apparently hitting the on-off switch. I don't think BattleBot really stood much of a chance anyway. I mean, at this point, by that point, he had no lifting arm. We had a wedge. We had a scoop wedge, but I don't think it wasn't low enough. Well, it wasn't, I guess, low enough to get under Backlash's traction per se. I mean, Backlash was always keeping the disc facing front. I don't think BattleBot would have lasted much longer anyway. Yeah, so that put Backlash into the finals where it faced Alpha Raptor. Now, unfortunately, this ended up being somewhat anticlimactic because Alpha Raptor was not fully functional during this fight. They had basically half a drive working for the most part. And I think Backlash killed them outright, bent the working drive. Because Alpha Raptor goes into these fights with the armor over the wheels, which I think proved to cost them here because Backlash, I think at one point, bent the armor into the wheels on the working side of drive. So they were basically immobilized at that point, up on the spike strip, and then Backlash just basically ripped them apart after that. So I don't know how well it could have gone. I'm sure it would have been a much more interesting match and more, I guess, even match if it had actually been working properly. I mean, even Chuck Pitzer and Jim Spandowski basically made a deal before that. Okay, So if my bot is down for the count, go ahead and have your way with him, or and that's basically what happened. Backlash basically ripped the plastic that was on top of Alpha Raptor completely. There was not much left after that. Had the overall frame and lift and everything seemed to be okay, but other than that, it was not really in good shape at all. It was out. It was up on the spikes. I don't think it would have won that anyway. I think it was pretty much dead even before Backlash put it up on the spike strip. But, it made Backlash the champion. Arguably, in some ways, it may have had a pretty easy ride, although it did have to face Endotherm, but that fight never made it on TV. It could have ended badly. Backlash was not invertible, so any time you faced a flipper, it could have lost. And there were chances. There were definitely chances, at least a couple chances, where bots could have flipped it over, but they never did. Who knows? The Dr. Inferno Jr. could have been a contender to take on Backlash, although, given what we see later in a Rumble, maybe not. So, it wasn't a bad episode. It was a good way to end the Lightweight Championship. It's kind of too bad there are some fights we didn't get to see, but we still haven't gotten to see to this day, apart from the clips that were shown on the episode. But it definitely, it's unfortunate the bots weren't fully functional, but that's the way it goes with a tournament like this. Depending on how much damage you take in the previous fight, you may be struggling to get back into the game for the finals, or even the semis, depending on when it takes place. So that's my review on BattleBots Season 1.0, Episode 8. Thanks for watching.